All right, we're here with Stanford basketball head coach Jared Haase. We're in the middle of August, so a lot going on. Based on what you wanted to get accomplished this summer, how's it going? How would you rate the summer?
I think it's been really good. You know, it's not something just because the limits on the amount of time we can work with the guys. We can't just overhaul the team and implement a whole system. So, as much as anything, it was getting the new guys acclimated, getting them used to Stanford, and making sure they increase their comfort level. So when we get back in the fall, we can really go full speed ahead. But I thought we did some nice things offensively, trying to understand the idea of how we're going to attack, trying to use a little bit more off the dribble, get into the paint. And then making plays for others. And I think we instituted some good things this summer.
So one of the things that you wanted to work on when we last talked was uncomfortable situations. And, that's as much about mental toughness as anything else. How is that going? How have they acclimated? What kind of progress have they made?
Yeah, I think it's been good. And it's one of those things that's hard to define. And, you can always run the guys until they throw up, but is that truly developing mental toughness? And so it's not just pushing them physically and mentally to get to a point where, again, they're sick or something like that. It's trying to get them to a point where they understand how to compete. And even if it's a simple drill, a simple game, it's not just getting through the drill, it's doing it with the understanding that we're trying to win that drill or compete at the highest level. So I think that's going to be an ongoing topic and an ongoing theme. I think this summer's been good, but it's not going to be something that's solved in just a couple months.
Do you feel comfortable saying, at this point, though, you've got a tougher group than you did when the summer started, when the spring?
Yeah, I think so. And a lot of it's just some of the younger guys just getting used to competing at the highest level. It's a different level than high school or what they were playing at before. And I think the guys, the veterans, I think are competing at a higher level. Part of it too is I think we have so many pieces right now that everybody's looking around saying, if I want minutes, I'm going to really have to compete and earn it. So part of it's just inherent in what we have going on.
So one of the things that I got from the players was that you guys kind of challenged them about their togetherness. Like, they like each other, they all get along, but there was another level that you guys wanted them to get to. How do you think they're progressing in that way as a team?
Yeah, I think that part's been fantastic. I think the guys are enjoying each other's company. They're hanging out off the court more and more as time goes on, and just all the times they're around each other. It's not just punching a clock of, hey, let's go to practice and let's get out of here. I think they're really investing in what we're doing, and obviously we've talked a lot about the core values, and investment is number one, and I think there has been a great deal of investment in each other.
So one of the other things that's gotten talked about a lot is just the joy for the game, just loving the game and wanting to do it. And I think Coach Wilburn talked about last year, there was just some times where, kind of what you were saying, like, it felt like homework, it felt like not what you want to be doing. Have you seen a change in anyone in particular who's kind of found that love in the time that you guys have pushed for it?
The one guy that stands out right now is Dorian Pickens. He's had a fantastic summer in just about every possible way he could. But as a team, I'm going to answer this a little bit different way, because the joy of the game also means that you have a passion for it and you're totally invested. Then if it doesn't go well, it upsets you.
Sure.
So there's a passion for it, and you get frustrated just as much having a joy of it. So I've actually seen much more frustration on a loss, or disappointment on a loss, or guys going back and forth some, that I look at it as a real positive. And because I think there is more of a joy that comes out of it as well. But it's not just, we're just happy to be here all the time and that kind of thing. But there is, I think, more of a passion for the game, a passion for playing. And with that comes kind of the highs and lows of competing, the winning and losing of it.
And so with that, it almost seems in talking to your staff that you guys are as excited about competitive practices as competitive games. It was, you talked about there being a disconnect last year between what was happening in practice and then it wasn't showing up in the games. Can you just talk about how much has that materialized in the way that you had hoped?
I think we're making a lot of progress there. Every day you're at practice and there's more competition and really good players. That's going to help carry over to the games. And I think when we look at last year, I think we made a great deal of progress, but it didn't always translate to wins and losses, especially at the end of the season. Hopefully that'll happen this year, but I think consistent high-level practices with the influx of talent we have right now, I think can combine to hopefully have better results.
So let's talk about the freshmen. Let's just talk about them just a little bit. Any surprises? I mean, you obviously have a relationship with them. You know them. It's not like that much time has passed since the time they signed and the time they're here, but they're here now. They're Stanford guys. They've been on the court. What have you seen out of them?
Well, the one thing I would say, the great credit to my staff and to this whole deal is that there are no huge surprises. I think we kind of know
Okay.
what we had, and really excited about kind of the overall talent level, and then even more than that, the competitiveness. The guys are really, really competitive, the freshmen. They love the game and they hate to lose. And those are things, when we, again, evaluated them, it wasn't just about the jump shot and lateral quickness. It's how much they love the game and how passionate they are, and those have been real positives.
So let's just go through them really quickly, and I'm just going to ask you one thing that you're confident that they could bring to the court right now if they had to play at the college level,
Yep.
and then one thing you kind of want them to hit between now and the time the season goes around.
Yep.
So let's just start with Oscar.
Oscar, the one thing I think that he can bring right now is an extremely skilled player at whatever position he plays. They're probably a 3, a 4, or 5, and any of those positions, he has a great skill set. I think his ability to almost become more selfish, where he needs to be more aggressive because he can do so many really good things out there. But I think that'll come once we get more time with him. So I think those would be the pros and cons with him.
Let's go for Isaac.
Yeah, Isaac, the one thing he can bring at a high level is shooting the basketball. And that needs to be, he has to have that role on the team of making shots for us. And then on the other side of it, he needs to be able to get to the paint. He needs to be able to...
I'll try to get you. All right. So we're back here with Stanford coach Jared Haase. Let's talk about Dejan, what you know he can bring and what you'd like him to work on.
Well, I think offensively he can get to the paint as well as, hopefully as well as just about any guard in the conference, and that's going to be something we rely on him to be able to get to paint and make the proper plays. And with him, I think the consistency of playing at an elite level, because he's, with freshmen there's always an adjustment, and so we're going to hopefully be able to shrink that adjustment time and get him playing as consistent as possible at a high level early and often. But his ability to get to paint, I think, will be big.
And then KZ.
Yeah, KZ, he has so many gifts. Naturally, he's a scorer at will, and we don't have to run a play for him, and he's able to just play and get baskets almost all of a sudden. And so we'll hopefully get that from him. And then for him, same thing as Dejan, just being able to play from a position where there's a level of consistency from the very, very start.
All right, and just got a couple more for you, Coach. One and dones. What is your attitude about them, kind of in general? And obviously at Stanford, that's a strange situation, kind of an unlikely situation. But your approach to that reality in the game.
Yeah, for us, it's probably the most, Stanford, it's probably the most overhyped situation out there. And if we were recruiting somebody that's whole intention was to be a one and done, we'd probably encourage him to go elsewhere. This probably isn't the best fit because there's probably not the value of education that somebody at Stanford would want. And so for us, it's not a major issue, hopefully. In some ways you'd want it to be because we recruit guys that are so good that they would have that option. But when we talk about the big picture and how we can develop a championship level team here, I think at the end of the day, that would be done with guys that are juniors and seniors that have been in the program for 4 years that have developed. And very few programs in the country can really do that at the highest level because they have the best players that are freshmen and the one and dones and two and dones. But if we can get guys that are here for 3-4 years and win with juniors and seniors on the court, I think that's really a blueprint for our success.
So, and I want to ask about scheduling really quick. Obviously, you haven't been shy about scheduling for real. But one of the challenges I think you ran into last year was just amount of games. You have that layoff and there's advantages to it, but at the same time, it kind of left you guys just short in terms of games played. Have you ever considered using one of the Cal weeks to make up for that, or how is that process going for you at this point? Are you okay with where you're at in terms of number of games?
Yeah, I think we'll be able to get the full number of games. With our final schedule, it's a little bit unique to be able to try and get all the games in and kind of have to compress early in the season. There are some ideas with the NCAA of moving the season just a bit earlier. If that happens, I think it would help our scheduling. with the conference, you don't get the schedules out until a little bit later, and we'd like to have the non-conference schedule in place before we get to the what the conference is doing. So we do look at all those things. At the end of the day, we want a really tough schedule and an opportunity to play against the best teams. And with Stanford, with the finals and things like that, it kind of shrinks your non-conference schedule when you can play games, but it's all part of it.
So just one last thing, year 2 for you. What would you say is the biggest takeaway from last year that is informing what you're doing this year?
It's a great question. I think the quality and character of the kids is so high that enables you, and the overall intelligence is so high that we can do things here that I think other programs can't do, and hopefully we can use that to our advantage.
All right, that's Stanford basketball head coach Jared Haase.